this is going to be a short video just looking at an introduction to compression. So we're going to see what it actually means in computer science, understand the two main types of compression. So we've got lossless and lossy compression, and then we're going to look at two actual methods of compressions. We've got run length encoding and dictionary compression. So let's have a look. Compression. So compression is making a file smaller so it contains less data. So that's generally what compression is. If you compress something, you make it smaller. And with a computer file, we just get rid of data that we don't need before we send it or we store it. So what are the advantages of compression? Hopefully you've sort of thought, well, actually, if we make a file smaller, that means we can store more files on our disk, on our hard disk. Also, it means if a file is smaller, when we send it, that means it should get from one computer to another much faster. So we allow more data to be stored, and files may be or should be transferred more quickly as well because they're smaller. So we've got two main methods, and those are lossy and lossless compression. So we're going to look at those next. So we've got lossy and lossless compression. If you want to pause the video, you can think, well, what is the difference between them? So think of the two words. What might they mean in terms of compressing a file? So lossless compression makes a file smaller without losing any of the information. So we can compress a file, make it smaller, and then we can decompress the file to try and get the data back, and we actually get all of the data back. So that's quite useful for certain things. Lossy compression, on the other hand, works differently. It means that when we compress a file, we make it a much smaller size than lossless, which is good, but what that means is some of the data is permanently lost during the process. So we've got two things to think about here. We'll have a look at them in a little bit more detail on the next couple of slides. So lossy compression tends to be used a lot for things like movies, videos, and music, because we can actually get rid of quite a lot of data, make our file a lot smaller, but actually not affect the overall quality in terms of what we're seeing or hearing very much at all. So it's great for streaming Netflix or any movies, or streaming music as well. So mainly used a lot in voice, music and video, because we can still hear the song or watch the movie. It'll just be in a bit of a lower quality, and sometimes it's quite hard to tell when it's lower quality. So we're going to have a look at a comparison of lossy and lossless here. So let's have a look. We've got two files here. Have a look at them. One's been compressed with lossy compression and the other's been compressed with lossless compression. Which one do you think is which? If you want to pause the video and have a think before I go for the answer, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so we can see we've got two versions of Here We Go Around the Mulberry Bush. The first one, we've got actually lots of text missing. So we can actually say for this one that we've used lossy compression because we've lost data from the first poem or first song. The second one, we've got all of the data. That means we must have used lossless compression for that one. Let's have a look at this next one. So we've got a website logo, hatsforcats.com. Have a look at those two pictures. Have a think. Which one do you think is lossy? Which one do you think is lossless? Well, looking at them, the second picture looks a bit blurry. So what's happened on this one is we've compressed it and we've actually got rid of some of the data. That means we might have got rid of some of the colors, or we might have got rid of some of the pixels, and they're gone permanently. It's affected the picture a little bit. It's made it blurry, but we can still see quite clearly what it is. The picture on the left is it's much higher quality, so that will be the lossless version. Okay, so looking at the same files, and we can think about some things here. So which is better quality and which will send faster? So the second one is obviously much better quality, but the first one will be able to transmit that faster because it's less characters. Not that we'd want to, because we can't necessarily read it, and that's one of the things with text. You can't use lossy compression with text. You have to use lossless techniques. We're going to look at one of those in a little bit as well. And again, for the website logo, well, clearly the second file here is going to send much faster. It's a lot smaller than the first one. We've got 22 kilobytes to 150 kilobytes. So again, we know the first one is better quality, but the second one will send faster. So lossless compression must seem preferable to lossy compression, because if it's lossless, we get all the original data back. But the fact that we have lossy compression means that sometimes it must be a better choice. And we've already talked a little bit about streaming movies and music, but particularly for images, because it's possible to get rid of a huge amount of information without noticeably reducing the quality. So we have a look at these two pictures here. This is a much better example. So we've got one of these pictures is an original uncompressed file. The second picture has been compressed. So if you have a look at them, can you tell which one is which? It's very, very difficult. It's a 50-50 call, but I can reveal that the first picture is 3000 kilobytes. That's the original bitmap picture. The second one I compressed to a JPEG, and that's 10 times smaller. So you can see that means we can store 10 times the amount of images on our disk. Also, if this is being used to make a website, it means that the website's going to load faster because it's taking up less memory, or it'll download faster because it's a smaller file which has to travel over the internet. So you can see lossy compression does have a place, and if it's used well, can actually get some really, really good results. So why would the BBC Sport website want to compress this image? Well, because it means that they can store more files, store more pictures on their web server, and the website will download faster to people's computers. Here's a little nice graphic which shows how we compress sound. So humans don't hear these really high frequencies and these low frequencies very well, so we can just filter them out. So the file that we're left with actually still sounds very much like the original song, for example, or the human voice, and actually we've compressed it quite a lot. So yeah, lossy compression, very, very useful for music as well. Right, let's have a quick look at some actual methods. So lossless compression for images. So you can see here a single color can be repeated many times in a row. So we've got a nice simple picture here which will work for our example. So what we do is we take all the colors in our picture and we just assign each color a code. So blue is 1, brown is 2, red is 3, light green is 4. And all we do is to compress the image, we take the sequences of color and we just write them out using a particular code. And this is called run length encoding. So we have a run of colors that we encode. Let's have a look. So using row 1, we can do this. So row 1 has 14 pixels and they're all blue. So what we do is write 1, which is the color, and then 14, which is the number of pixels that we have. So what would row 3 be compressed to? So if we have a look at row 3, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 10 pixels that are blue. So we can write down 1 for blue and then 10 of them. Then we've got a brown pixel, so we can write 2 for brown. We have 1 of them. And then we're back to blue, so we've got 3 blues. So we write down the color, which is 1, and then we have 3 of them. What would row 4 be compressed to? If you want to pause the video before I put the answer on the screen, have a go at it, and you can press play, see what the answer is. So row 4, we're down here, so we've got 1, 9, so there are 9 blues. We've got 2, 3, so we've got 3 browns, and then we've got 1, 2, which is 2 blues. We can do a similar thing for text. So in text, a single word can be repeated many times. So we take this original text here. When the cat sat on the mat, I found the mat was smelly, the cat on the mat was happy. What we can do is we can create a dictionary. So I've picked out all the words that repeat. I've just given each one a simple code. I've just picked a character. The only important thing is that the character mustn't appear in the text. Now, this original message is 83 characters. All we do is we write out the original message, but we substitute the code characters. So now we've got when at hash sat dollar at percent I found at percent smiley smelly at hash dollar at percent smiley happy. So we can send this. This is only 57 characters. Now, have to remember we have to send the dictionary as well. That does take up a little bit of space, but we have been able to reduce that file size. So we have made it smaller, and we use lossless compression so we can get all of the original message back, which is quite helpful. and that's called dictionary encoding. Right, so if you want to have a quick pause, have a look at these questions. I'll reveal the answers, so you can pause the video, press play, and we'll look at the answers. So what is compression? So making a file size smaller so it contains less bytes or less information. Name two methods of compression. We've got lossy and lossless. Why do we need to compress? We can store more data, or we can upload or download faster. Name a file suitable for lossless compression. So a text file, we don't want to lose any of the text. That could be computer code, it could be a database, or it could just be a document. Name a file suitable for lossy compression. So image, or perhaps sound, or video. What are the names of the compression methods used in the examples below? So we've got these two examples here. Let's have a look. So this one is run length encoding. So we can do this with letters. So we got 3 B's, 5 N's, and we've got 5 G's. And then this one is one we just looked at. That's dictionary encoding. And that's a quick run through for compression. I hope it was useful. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.